Amazing rescue. Kind woman saves injured fawn, as heroic cat. Exposing a bee swarm, flags down a car. Sarah's heart thundered as she spotted it, a small fawn limping dangerously close to the road, its delicate legs quivering under the weight of fear. The chorus of crickets that usually comforted her only deepened her sense of panic. They were a stark reminder of the quiet, untroubled life she inhabited. In that moment, her pulse quickened, oscillating between panic for the innocent creature and the familiar guilt that tugged at her soul. Every day spent in her clinic felt like she was forsaking her own dreams, while the weight of responsibility to the animals pressed heavily on her shoulders. She pulled the car over, hands shaking as adrenaline surged through her veins. In an instant, her orange tabby, Whiskers, fueled by instinct, leapt from the passenger seat and bolted toward the fawn. "Whiskers, no!" she shouted, but the cat was already in motion, unwittingly agitating a nearby bee swarm. The sudden chaos erupted as cars swerved, honking wildly, a cacophony that threatened to drown her spirit. Her thoughts spiraled into turmoil. Could she manage a rescue without jeopardizing the fawn or herself? All her professional training surged back, and yet, self-doubt clawed at her like a feral animal. What if she failed? What if the poor creature was beyond help? A storm of conflicting emotions raged within her. The drive to protect, the fear of inadequacy, the ongoing ache of longing for her own unrealized dreams. Before she could fully process the whirlwind, a young man pulled over. Panic mirrored in his eyes as he rushed towards her, his hands shaky, but his gaze steady. It was Jake, caught in his own vortex of despair, unemployed, drowning in guilt over his daughter's needs. One glance between them revealed mutual desperation, a shared pulse of longing for a second chance. She felt an unexpected kinship, blurring the lines of their own struggles between doing good and seeking redemption. Together, they lunged for the fawn, battling the buzzing fury of the bees. Each movement became a moment of shared vulnerability, their stories spilling out amidst the chaos. Sarah's heartbreak over every animal she couldn't save, Jake's sorrow over the promise of a better future weighed down by family disgrace. The air thickened with their burdens, making each breath nearly unbearable. Confronted with their intertwined pains, they fought harder, their desperation illuminating a shared sense of purpose. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Finally, they managed to cradle the trembling fawn in Sarah's arms. Just as relief washed over her, a shocking realization crashed down. This fawn belonged to the town's esteemed family, the very family that had decimated Jake's father years ago. Her hands trembled, and a wave of tension clouded the air. Would they honor the innocence of this fragile creature, or would the ghosts of old grudges take hold? The weight of their past loomed larger as they faced each other, trapped in a cycle of choices that extended beyond their own lives. Anguish swept through Sarah like a gust of cold wind. This moment was less about saving a life and more about the road not taken, a reminder of all they had yet to confront. In the silence that followed, uncertainty lingered like a shroud, and they both understood the decisions ahead would redefine their lives in ways they couldn't yet fathom. The flutter of wings mingled with the distant sounds of the car engines and the heavy beat of Sarah's heart, as she shifted her gaze from the fawn to Jake, the young man standing beside her. His brow furrowed with the weight of history and unspoken fears, they both stood at a crossroads. She felt the delicate fawn shift slightly in her arms, a fragile heartbeat echoing in a world filled with strife. This moment held the potential for redemption, but also the specter of conflict. "What do we do now?" Jake's voice cracked slightly, filled with uncertainty. The question hung heavily in the air, tainted by their shared regret and fear. Sarah looked down at the fawn, vulnerable and defenseless. "We take it to the clinic," she replied, her heart racing with a mix of determination and apprehension. It was a simple plan on the surface, but she sensed the far-reaching implications of their next steps. Healing this creature also meant confronting the past, her connection to the town's esteemed family and their unyielding grip on their community. "Do you think they'll even help?" Jake's words were laced with doubt, his gaze flickering to Sarah, searching for reassurance. Every fiber of her being yearned to promise him that everything would be fine, but uncertainty gnawed at her. "They'll have to," she said, her voice firmer than she felt. Over the years, despite her resentment towards the family that owned the clinic where she worked, she had learned to prioritize the well-being of the animals above all else. It had been an unspoken pact she made with herself, but could she hold fast now, especially with Jake by her side? Jake's expression changed, a flicker of determination igniting within his stormy eyes. "Okay, let's do this, together." Their shared burdens began to shift as they traversed the path toward the clinic, a transformation palpable in the air. The drive was punctuated by the delicate, almost ethereal presence of the fawn in Sarah's arms. Despite the chaos that unfolded around them, a profound sense of unity settled in the space between them. Sarah and Jake exchanged brief glances filled with unmasked vulnerability, sharing their burdens without uttering another word. Each bump on the road flowed in rhythm with their hearts, both aware that they were navigating more than just the physical miles. It was their resilient spirits that needed mending. As they reached the clinic, tension crackled anew. A few anxious glances passed between them as they gathered the courage to step inside. The inviting warmth of the clinic's atmosphere felt distant against the weight of their situation. Sarah's heart sank momentarily at the thought of the owners, the family whose actions had overshadowed Jake's past. Her own disillusionment mingled with fierce protectiveness over the fawn. "Ready?" she whispered to Jake, a shiver running through her, a reminder of all that hung in the balance. He nodded, yet hesitation flickered in his eyes. "We can't let them know." "Not now," he murmured, as if grappling with the ghosts of betrayal still haunting his every decision. This was the point of no return, a moment where everything could either heal or shatter irreparably. As they stepped through the clinic doors, Sarah felt the weight of expectations rise like a tide. Would their intentions be seen through the veil of the past? Inside, the familiar antiseptic scent enveloped her, but it was tainted by dread and past grievances. She steeled herself as the receptionist looked up, surprise painting her face. "We need help. It's urgent," Sarah stated, her arms tightening protectively around the fawn, its fragile light flickering amid their fears. The silence stretched taut, full of potential calamities, and Sarah realized they had stepped into a room not just governed by animals, but by human histories tangled in their own webs. The clinic had been a sanctuary, but now it felt like a battleground. In this moment of reckoning, Sarah understood that her journey was evolving, laying bare not only the animals in her care but also her deepest fears and hidden desires. Could she confront the past and mold her future alongside Jake, or would their unspoken history tear them apart before they could truly begin? Just as resolve curled into her stomach, a voice broke through the tension, filling the air with an unmistakable authority. "Sarah? Is that you?" An unmistakable familiarity laced the question, sending her stomach plummeting. The weight of the past was about to collide with her present in ways she could never have anticipated. Sarah's heart raced as she recognized the voice. It belonged to Dr. Collins, the head veterinarian and a prominent member of the family she had tried desperately to distance herself from. Each word from his lips felt like a dagger pricking at her resolve. "Dr. Collins," she managed, her voice barely above a whisper. Inside, fear and defiance warred for dominance. He was the last person she wanted to see, yet here he was, anchored in the clinic, like an immovable shadow from her past. "Is everything all right?" His brow furrowed, the doctor's professional veneer slipping momentarily as he approached them. Concern laced his tone, but Sarah could sense the undercurrent of scrutiny. The fawn stirred in her arms, instinctively curling closer to her, sensing the tension in the air. "It's hurt." "We need your help," Jake interjected, stepping forward. There was something unyielding in his posture that sparked a flicker of admiration within Sarah. This was their fight now, a battle not just for the Fawn, but for their own autonomy. Of course. Bring it into the examination room, Dr. Collins instructed, but Sarah's pulse quickened. The urgency displayed in Jake's eyes brought forth the question that none of them were voicing aloud. Were they ready to confront the truths that lay buried deep within the walls of this clinic, and in the familial history that crackled with tension? As they followed the doctor, the environment shifted. It felt strange to return to this place, memories of long-forgotten tender moments mingling with painful confrontations. Sarah squared her shoulders, determined to protect the Fawn at all costs, even if that meant peeling away the layers of her past. Faint sounds of soft whimpers drew her attention, and she caught glimpses of animals waiting for care. Each small life served as a poignant reminder of the responsibility she had chosen. But in that moment, she felt trapped between two worlds: the love for the creatures she served, and the animosity she held towards the family that shielded her ambitions. Inside the examination room, the sterile brightness clashed with the turmoil swirling within her. She placed the Fawn gently on the table, its delicate frame stark against the white backdrop. Dr. Collins's careful, practiced hands moved, examining the injury with the finesse of someone who had dedicated his life to healing. "It's a clean break," he mused, his voice laced with reserved authority. "We can fix this." As she watched him assess the Fawn, a pang of nostalgia hit her, intertwined with resentment. The way he moved, the confidence he exuded, reminded her of moments spent admiring his skill, moments that felt like a lifetime ago, consumed by bitterness. "Are you going to stand there all day?" he chided lightly as he prepared bandages. The familiarity in his tone stung, rekindling fragments of a time when they had shared laughter and compassion, before everything had changed. "Just let me know what you need," she replied firmly, fighting to maintain composure. The examination unfolded with a tense silence. Each breath felt heavy, filled with unexpressed emotions and truths that needed exposure. What did she truly feel towards him? The remnants of admiration clashed with the ghost of betrayal lurking at the edges of her mind. "Sarah, have you thought about what I said last time?" Dr. Collins's inquiry cut deeper than a simple question. "No." The word slipped out before she could catch it, her pulse pounding in her ears. "Don't shut me out. You and I both know this is bigger than our past." The personal confrontation shifted the air between them. It was time to confront. She knew the conversation was necessary, yet fear tightened around her throat, suffocating the words she longed to say. Jake's presence by her side anchored her. She turned to him, finding reassurance in his unwavering gaze, an unspoken agreement to stand strong in the face of their shared history. With the Fawn's life in her hands, and perhaps her own future, the choice became clear. It was time to reclaim her narrative. "Let's fix this," she declared, her voice steadying as certainty coursed through her. The Fawn blinked up at her, unaware of the storm brewing around them, yet somehow a symbol of her own fragility and strength. Could this singular act catalyze a change in the tides? As she looked into Dr. Collins's eyes, acknowledgement flickered within him, laden with the weight of the past. Their momentary standoff hung in the balance, each of them poised at the edge of a new beginning. The Fawn needed care, and perhaps they all needed a chance for healing. But standing there, Sarah questioned if readiness was ever a guarantee. "Sarah, what do you mean, fix this?" Dr. Collins probed, his voice turning intense, pushing for clarity. Just as she opened her mouth to answer, a loud crash sounded from outside. Startled, all eyes turned as the doors swung open, revealing a figure shrouded in urgency. The weight of uncertainty loomed, and the air crackled with the potential for transformation, as Sarah braced herself for whatever revelations awaited. The figure stood at the threshold, drenched in an amalgamation of urgency and anxiety. It was an employee, Claire, her disheveled hair framing her wide-eyed expression like a halo of impending chaos. Adrenaline pulsed through Sarah as she registered Claire's panic. "Sarah, we need your help!" Claire gasped, clutching her side as if it could contain the whirlwind of worry inside her. "There's a car accident by the bend. and a lot of people are hurt. Sarah's heart sank. Her instinct to care immediately collided with fear. Is everyone okay? How bad is it? She asked, moving quickly towards the door, but she hesitated, glancing back at Dr. Collins. He met her gaze with a look she hadn't expected, an understanding as if he recognized the weight of the moment. They need every available set of hands, and you know the animals are just as important, he said, his tone shifting to one of resolute authority. It felt oddly freeing to hear him speak like a mentor again, even under such somber circumstances. The tension between them strained but held, fostering a new resolve in Sarah. We can take care of the fawn later, Jake reassured her, his presence beside her a steadfast anchor in the tumult. This is bigger than any one of us. The internal conflict surged within her. The fawn had become her responsibility, a metaphorical embodiment of her struggle to reclaim her purpose. But could she truly leave it behind? Let's go, Sarah decided, the words tumbling from her lips. It was a pivotal moment, a decision propelled by the need to step beyond personal fears and embrace her capacity to help others. We can't ignore those in pain. Each hurried step towards the door bolstered a flicker of determination. She could feel the gaze of Dr. Collins on her back, weighing heavy yet deserving of her acknowledgement. This wasn't just about her. She was part of something larger. As they rushed outside, the warm air hit her with the scent of fresh grass, mingling with an undercurrent of anxiety. Near the bend, smoke billowed from a wrecked vehicle, and panicked voices were punctuated by cries for help. The knot of responsibility tightened in her chest, but she welcomed it. It fueled her purpose. Stay together, Jake called out as they approached the scene. Sarah's mind raced with calculations. How many casualties did they have? Were any animals caught in the chaos? Her veterinary instincts kicked in. She began mentally checking tools and supplies they'd need. The drive to protect and heal thrummed louder, drowning out the disharmony of her past connections. Approaching the wreckage, Sarah observed the scene unfold before her, people weaving in and out of panic while she felt an oddly calming sense of clarity. She took a breath, remembering the mantra her mentors had instilled in her. Focus on what you can control. Amidst the chaos, she found a woman lying by the roadway, clutching her leg in pain. Sarah knelt beside her, assessing the injury while keeping one ear open for additional cries for help. As she worked, she saw Jake maneuver to assist another victim. It was teamwork born from necessity, blurring the lines of their shared burdens. Stay calm. Help is here, Sarah assured the woman, meeting her eyes with unwavering steadiness. In that moment, something profound clicked within Sarah. It wasn't just the fawn, or even her complicated relationship with Dr. Collins. It was about asserting her identity, grounding herself in purpose dressed in compassion and strength. As they pulled together medical supplies and began tending to those in need, Sarah noticed Dr. Collins, initially a source of shadow, instead stepping into a role of support, his demeanor now focused and efficient. Their past weighed like a stone, yet there was a sense of communion beginning to form. The flurry of activity absorbed them, welding a new connection as lives converged towards healing. But Sarah found herself silently wondering if she'd truly confronted her history, or merely set it aside for the moment. The tension of that unresolved question hung heavy in her mind. Just then, a quiet voice broke through her thought. Sarah, Claire called out, her urgency rekindling as she waved her over, highlighting an unexpected discovery. Another victim hidden under the remnants of cardboard and broken glass. How deep did this situation run? And could they really navigate the labyrinth of turmoil without losing sight of their purpose? As Sarah moved toward the next challenge unfolding before her, the thought loomed. Today had barely begun, and the struggle for clarity and connection was proving to be far from over. The faint cries for help intermingled with the acrid smell of smoke and burning rubber, anchoring Sarah in the moment. Each step felt heavier than the last, yet her resolve remained rigid. The chaos pulsated around her, and as she hurried to Claire's side, she braced herself for yet another challenge. What do we have here? She asked, her voice steady despite the turmoil swirling in her mind. Claire looked down, her eyes filled with discomfort but aflame with urgency. "There's a man trapped in the car," Claire replied, pointing. "And I'm afraid there's a small dog too." Sarah's heart twisted. The victims were not simply strangers. They were lives entangled in this instance of misfortune, just as she had been nearly lost in her own internal struggles. Remembering her training, she quickly assessed the situation. "Let's work together," she instructed, focusing Claire's energy. "We need to stabilize the area and assess the man's condition first. Can you grab the first aid kit?" Claire nodded, springing into action, but Sarah hesitated for just a moment, allowing herself a breath. The sight of the injured spiked the pragmatic side of her instincts into overdrive. She reminded herself she was more than the Fawn, more than the anxiety dragging at her heels. She was a healer. Approaching the car, she assessed the trapped man. Blood oozed from his shoulder, and he appeared unconscious. It was a routine type of injury in an extraordinary circumstance. The dog was wailing from the rear, and Sarah felt the tugging pull of two lives needing her focus. "Sarah!" Claire called from behind, breaking her momentary pause. "The dog is stuck too. It looks scared." "I can't believe we have two victims in this mess," Sarah muttered, the weight of her judgment reverberating in her chest. The man was important, but the dog, too, deserved care. She crouched closer to the vehicle, identifying ways to approach without further jeopardizing the man's safety. "All right, let's focus on stabilizing the scene," Sarah instructed, her mind racing through tactical decisions. "First, keep the crowd back. We need space." Their immediate surroundings began to blur, but Sarah's clarity sharpened. Claire's diligent efforts to clear bystanders bore fruit as the diminished noise amplified her focus. Suddenly, the sound of glass crunching beneath their feet broke her concentration as Jake appeared, pulling together other team members. "What's the condition?" he asked, moving efficiently. "He's injured but alive. Claire's looking after the dog," Sarah replied, quickly outlining the roles as if pulling strings of connection back into her grasp. Each detail she shared reshaped her confidence. She was regaining control. As Sarah moved closer to the trapped man, she realized fear was burdening her resolve. Was she truly capable of saving the lives before her? Instinctively, she reached for her phone and located a nearby paramedics number, her fingers pausing as she contemplated the nature of asking for help amid her clear responsibility. But as she pressed call, a surge of empowerment coursed through her. "Emergency services," she stated crisply when they answered. "We have multiple injuries and need assistance urgently." Adding her own plea for attention, Sarah felt a surge of strength. Perhaps her past uncertainties were not chains holding her back, but rather the very foundations on which she could build further competence. She crouched next to the man, assessing more deep injuries, stabilizing his position while offering a few calming words, reminded of her training's emphasis on rapport. "Stay calm. Help is coming," she reassured, meeting his gaze with unwavering steadiness. But inside, another thought loomed. Could she rise from her past, or were her fears threatening to sabotage her present resolve, blurring her professional identity? Just then, Claire's voice rang out nearby. "Sarah, the dog is panicking. I think he needs you." The urgency clawed at her consciousness, propelling her forward. If she couldn't secure her own confidence in the face of chaos, how could she hope to help others? Today's challenges were transforming the essence of her purpose, an opportunity to confront not just the external crises, but her own fears within. Resolving to fix this, she nodded at Jake, who had approached. The old tension flickered between them, altering as they concentrated on the task ahead. "Let's get both of them out now," Sarah said, determination edging her voice. The fluctuating boundaries of fear and purpose were beginning to merge. She stood poised on the precipice, ready to leap. Could she rally her focus and save both lives in front of her? But just as they began to coordinate their efforts, the sound of approaching sirens echoed in the air, signaling the arrival of professional backup. Would it be enough? And would she find the closure she longed for in both the rescue and her healing journey? The vicinity was flooded with red and blue lights as the sirens drew closer, pulsating through the moment like a driving heartbeat. Sarah felt the pressure rise, a conflux of urgency and hope propelling her forward. The sound filled her ears, but she remained rooted in the task at hand. The need to act eclipsed the chaotic rhythm of the world around her. "Claire, stay with the dog. I'll check on the man again," she said, her heart racing as she refocused on the trapped individual. She could sense the heat radiating from the car, the smoke thickening around them, and it sharpened her instincts. Kneeling down beside the man, Sarah examined the extent of his injuries again. Blood seeped, a sinister reminder of the fragility of life. "Please hold on," she murmured, trying to project calm not just to him, but to herself as well. Her familiar doubts wrestled within her. Could she really be the steady hand he needed? Beneath her fingers, the pulse was faint but present, a reminder that this man was still fighting. There was something profound in the connection they shared, fleeting as it was. In this moment of crisis, she felt herself reborn, fighting against the specter of past failures. The voice inside her said she was a healer, that she had been trained for this. Suddenly, Claire's frantic whispers pierced through her thoughts. "Sarah, the dog is getting worse. He's panicking and might hurt himself." With a swift glance back, Sarah met Claire's distressing eyes. A surge of determination ignited within her. All her training and instincts kicked in. She had to balance both lives, not just one. "Okay! Keep him calm. Talk to him," Sarah shouted back, her mind racing with strategies. "I'll be right there." As she maneuvered around the vehicle, her breaths shallow yet focused, the sound of sirens began to soften. Paramedics had entered the scene, their presence a double-edged sword, comforting and intimidating in equal measure. Would they respect her authority in this crucial situation? Stepping near the paramedics, she quickly outlined the situation. "He's stable for now, but unconscious. Blood loss looks significant, likely vascular. Claire's with the dog in the back." Her tone was precise. She aimed for clarity and command amidst the chaos. "Got it. We'll prioritize him." One of the paramedics nodded, but there wasn't much time to linger. She anticipated the next move that would require her. "I need you to get ready to help me lift him out. We can't risk further injury." As they prepared, Sarah flinched again under the weight of her insecurities. What if she hadn't been effective? What if they dismissed her? Those questions felt overwhelming, but she anchored herself in the moment. She had tools. From her training to the heart that beat through her veins, these were not just victims, they were lives fused with her own purpose. "On the count of 3, she directed, her voice barely shaking. As hands slipped beneath the man's body, adrenaline greeted anticipation. 1, 2, 3. They lifted and pulled, and in that movement, Sarah channeled every ounce of clarity she had cultivated. This was not just an act of rescue, but a manifestation of who she was and who she could be. The man slipped free from the rubble, and the world outside erupted into activity. Claire's soft voice called from the rear, soothing the frantic dog, and for a moment, the chaos quieted. Both lives were wrapped in her care, yet doubt flickered like a candle flame in the back of her mind. Is this enough? She wondered briefly. But her gut told her otherwise. This moment was monumental not only for them, but for her own evolution. As she assisted the paramedics' stabilized position around him, her thoughts crystallized. Breakthroughs don't come without confrontation. Each life being saved echoed her own desperate need to rise above fear. But then, an unexpected sound reached her ears, a nearby vehicle's horn blaring, jarring her concentration and filling her with trepidation. What was happening now? The chaos surged anew, and her heart dropped. They had made progress. But at what cost? Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she turned towards the noise. The complexity of her emotions wrapped around her, blurring lines between personal and professional with each turn of the unpredictable world around her. She had reached a tipping point. Her next move could determine not just their fates but hers as well. Would she stand firm, or would the ground shift beneath her once again? The blaring horn shattered the momentary calm that Sarah had found among the chaos, and her heart raced anew. She turned toward the source, wariness coiling tightly within her chest. Abandoning the slight relief she felt after freeing the man from the wreckage, She could sense an unsettling wave of uncertainty washing over her. What new challenge lay waiting? "Stay alert, everyone," she called out, quickly analyzing the scene as she moved toward the sound. Her instincts screamed that there was more to this incident than just the man they had just rescued. She noticed another vehicle, partially concealed behind the overturned one, its driver frantically gesturing from inside. "Claire, keep the dog with the paramedics. I'll be back." With barely a glance back, Sarah sprinted toward the shouting figure. Inside the idling car, the smell of burning rubber mingled with the acrid scent of smoke. A middle-aged woman sat wide-eyed behind the steering wheel, her fingers gripped tightly around the wheel as if it were her lifeline. "Help! There's a swarm of bees. They're attacking my son." Her voice trembled, battling against urgency and fear. Sarah felt a surge of adrenaline kick in. The instinct to act kicked in further, but so did the weight of responsibility. Could she juggle another crisis? Could she really handle more than one life-threatening situation at a time? "Where is he?" she urged, pressing on the woman's terror to extract meaningful information. "He ran into the cornfield. I'm afraid they'll—" "Stay here. I'll find him." Sarah cut her off, already turning toward the field, heart thumping so loud it drowned out all doubt. Every muscle in her body felt electrified. She was on the precipice of something meaningful. Racing into the thick rows of corn, she could hear the ominous buzzing growing louder, a primal manifestation of fear rising within her. Yet, intertwined with that fear was a strangely comforting resolve. This wasn't just about saving someone else, it was her chance to prove her own strength. Each step through the swaying stalks hammered home her commitment. She was a healer. She was a protector. This role anchored her, lending her the drive that had previously felt terrified of both itself and its limits. "Hold on," she shouted, voice piercing through the rustle of leaves and the drone of insects. In the distance, she spotted a small figure flailing his arms wildly, tears streaming down his cheeks as he hopped in place. The boy was in deep distress, surrounded by a cloud of angry bees. Panic welled up alongside her fierce determination. She had to act quickly but wisely. Charging into the swarm wouldn't work. She needed a plan. Darting behind a nearby tree, Sarah could see the boy turn and drop to the ground, swatting at the cloud buzzing above him. The bees were agitated, and each reckless movement could provoke them further. Sarah's breath hitched. Time was evaporating. She remembered techniques learned during her training. Calmness was key. "Breathe," she whispered to herself, then shouted, "Stay still. Do not swat or run. I'm coming to help." With urgency transforming into a calculated approach, Sarah scanned the surroundings. She could use the natural cover to guide him out, perhaps create a distraction to lead the swarm away from the boy. Spotting a nearby bucket and some stones, she formulated a strategy. One would have to be a projectile, drawing the bee's ire without putting the boy at further risk. With steady hands, she grabbed the bucket and stones, passing them through her fingers in rapid thought. Targeting an open patch away from the boy, she hurled the stones into the air, shattering the drone like lightning through the haze of panic. It worked. The bees shifted, drawn by the noise. "Now! Move!" she shouted, gesturing to the boy, who was visibly confused, but responded instinctively, scooting away from the swarm toward her. As the boy bolted, Sarah threw the bucket to the ground, sending clatter and movement, which distracted the bees. They buzzed around the fallen bucket, focusing their anger elsewhere. Relief coursed through her as she hurried to scoop up the distressed child, pulling him close. "Are you okay?" She scrutinized his face, both searching for injuries and gauging his mental state. He nodded, shivering but unharmed, his eyes still wide with disbelief. "Let's get you back safely," she urged, feeling a renewed strength within herself. Now fully invested in what had begun as a stressful morning, Sarah glimpsed something new within her. The doubts, the second guesses, they were beginning to melt away, replaced by an unwavering core of purpose. Every step back toward the car echoed that realization, but as they broke free from the tall cornstalks, the blare of sirens took on a different tone, merging into an emergency, rather than just background noise. Sarah's heart sank again as she caught sight of Claire, pointing urgently back toward the vehicle. Sarah, there's something else. The feeling of instability crept back, intertwining her emerging sense of self with uncertainty once more. Just when she thought she had found her footing, doubt was clawing back beneath the surface. What more awaited her? Would she be able to stand strong once again? The realization struck her like the rising panic in the air. Today was not just a test of skill, but a trial of her own character. What now? She questioned internally, fighting against the whirlwind of shadowed fears as she looked toward the fray ahead. The sound of sirens wrapped around Sarah like a cloak of urgency, each wail amplifying her heartbeat as she rushed back to the car with the boy in her arms. Claire's expression sliced through the weight of relief that had temporarily steadied her. There was more to face, and the dawning reality pressed onto Sarah's shoulders. "What happened?" she asked sharply, her voice barely containing the tremor of anxiety that crept back into her. Claire pointed towards the overturned vehicle that had initially caught Sarah's attention. "I saw a flash of movement under the wreck. I think there's a fawn trapped, with the driver still inside." The words, thick as fog, clawed at Sarah's chest. The urgency felt palpable, swirling in her mind. A fawn? Another life? "Stay here with him," she commanded her partner, unwilling to let doubt seep in but already questioning her ability to handle this new crisis. Once more she lunged into action. Her feet pounded against the gravel, adrenaline firing like a hot engine. She felt her breath deepen as she approached the situation, steeling herself for yet another unknown. What if she couldn't save the fawn? What if even her best intentions led to failure? Each of these thoughts collided inside her mind. Yet amid the chaos, one resolute truth emerged. She had already taken risks. She had already been strong. The remnants of her former doubt began to fray at the edges as she grasped onto the belief that she was more than just a responder. She was becoming a force. Reaching the vehicle, she squatted low, ensuring that her presence didn't add to the panic. Peering under the twisted metal, her heart ached at the small creature trembling in the shadows, its delicate frame quivering in fear. Sarah's instincts surged as she noted its injured leg. This fawn needed her help. "Hey there," she murmured softly, though it felt absurd to speak to an animal in such chaos. "I'm here to help you. Just hold on." Lifting her eyes to assess the wreckage, she noted the car's crumpled sides. Time felt elastic, stretching unbearably as she calculated her next move. It wouldn't do to request assistance while risking both the fawn and herself. She needed to act immediately. Cautiously, she slid her arm under the car, wriggling forward, her fingertips brushing against soft fur. The fawn flinched, its wide eyes reflecting panic. "It's okay. Just breathe," she whispered, unearthing her training. Harnessing the calm she had relied on in the cornfield, Sarah focused. She worked the heavy debris with determined hands but paused to gather her wits. Fear shouldn't dictate her actions. Calculated responses, honed through previous experience, must lead the way. With a fluid movement, she gently nudged the fawn, guiding it toward her grasp. Gritting her teeth against the adrenaline, she edged backward, the sound of metal crunching beneath her as the fawn's breath quickened in response. "Just a little further, little one," she coaxed, scanning the surroundings for additional danger. Bees, confusion, chaos. It all blended into a whirlwind that swirled around her. Finally, she felt its warmth against her skin as she fully extracted the calf from its confining space. The fawn, though trembling, looked up at her with wide, innocent eyes, somehow trusting her in its most vulnerable moment. In that instant, Sarah felt a rush of connection. She wasn't just in this for the others. Here, she was learning about her own capacity for compassion and resilience. Holding the fawn close, she turned back toward Claire and the boy. But as the sirens continued to ring in the backdrop, another voice whispered doubt from the depths of her mind. What if she wasn't done yet? Suddenly, Claire's cry shattered her moment of calm. "Sarah!" The urgency in her tone locked onto the creeping realization that time was running shorter than anticipated. "What now?" Sarah's heart raced anew, feeling the weight shift from the cradle of the fawn to the pressure of the unknown. "Look over there! The driver!" Claire shouted, her voice laced with an unsettling edge, drawing attention to another shadow moving among the wreck. In an instant, the reality shifted, and Sarah understood. Today wasn't just an opportunity to prove herself. It was an unrelenting test of all she had become. How much more could she give? How far was she willing to push herself in the face of danger? Sarah's mind raced as questions swirled in unending echoes. The moment of truth loomed before her, crackling with suspense like the hum of agitated bees overhead. Uncertainty swelled inside of her, but she tightened her grip on the Fawn. Together, we can face whatever comes next, she declared to herself, a stirring of resolve igniting deep within. The challenge wasn't over. It was just beginning. The path ahead lay ablaze with uncertainty. What awaited on that horizon? Sarah felt a surge of determination flooding through her veins as she turned her focus towards the potential crisis unfolding with the driver. The boy still held in Claire's protective embrace, the Fawn nestled close to her chest. She took a deep breath to steady herself against the chaos hungry for her attention. Her eyes fell on the driver's door, ajar. The body slumped against the interior. Panic surged within. Time was rippling like a distorted reflection in water, and she couldn't afford to hesitate. She was both invigorated and terrified by the responsibility that lay ahead. Could she truly handle the weight of another life? "Stay with the Fawn," she urged Claire firmly. She had learned never to underestimate her partner's ability, but there was an urgency here that demanded exclusivity. Without waiting for a reply, Sarah sprinted toward the wreckage, every scream of the sirens amplifying her sense of imminent danger. What if the driver needed immediate aid? What if she was too late? Each footfall echoed her resolve to confront the unknown, to help. The car was crumpled in the shape of a fragile starburst. Each bent metal piece seemed to whisper words of caution. She navigated the debris, fear swirling within, but the clarity of mission drowned out the noise. The driver needed her help. There was no room left for doubt. "Hey, can you hear me?" she called, arriving at the windshield where concern etched her features. "Can you move?" A faint groan slipped through the driver's lips, igniting a spark of hope inside Sarah. She saw blood pooling from a head wound and various cuts littering the driver's arms. With trembling hands, she pressed her palm against the glass, summoning calm from somewhere deep within her turbulent thoughts. This was no longer a game of rescue. It was a matter of life and death, and she knew how to navigate these waters. She needed to act boldly, strategically, and now, there would be no second chances. She tapped on the glass, maintaining her presence as an anchor. "Stay with me. Help is on the way. Breathe." As adrenaline coursed through her, a realization struck. She was becoming the very person she had long admired, the one who took charge, who confronted fear head-on. The echoes of self-doubt were nearly drowned out by the thrill of stepping into a role she had never fully realized was meant for her. But there was more to grapple with than just physical barriers. She had to embody confidence, battles long fought in her mind and spirit igniting her actions. While she assessed the situation, she felt the duality of challenge and growth. This wasn't merely an emergency, it was a crucible, reshaping her purpose. Her eyes darted around, searching for a way to assist the driver. She needed leverage to pull the door open. Her thoughts retraced the countless training sessions she had endured, the insistence on learning practical strategies. Gathering her resolve, she leaned against the crumpled heap of metal, and with every ounce of strength, began to yank the door toward her. The metal groaned but didn't give. She had to adapt. "Come on, just a little more," she murmured under her breath, defiance rising. It was in that moment of pushing against the impossible that she felt a revelation burst forth. A realization that she wasn't simply acting as a rescuer. She was becoming her catalyst for change. In the face of adversity, she could woo outcomes rather than wait for them. The fire of her spirit now danced in companionship with her courage. "Sarah!" Claire's voice rang, pulling her momentarily back into the world. "What?" she snapped, grappling with her focus, the tension splitting her attention like a taut string. "The boy. He looks sick." Claire's voice trembled, containing its own gravity. A new wave of responsibility crashed against Sarah's heart. The realization settled like a winter chill, the tasks at hand multiplied by the second, each pressing against her capacity to hold fear at bay. "Just hold on," she instructed Claire again, uncertainty mixing with determination. She felt the weight of her burgeoning identity, a resilience that demanded more than mere survival. All around them, chaos unfurled, yet beneath it, Sarah stood resolute amidst the shadows of self-doubt. Pushing her hands deeper into the wreck, she vowed she would bring both the driver and now the boy back from their brink. But the sirens still blared, a reminder of time creeping by, questioning if she could save everyone today. Would she rise to meet this sudden crescendo, or would her resolve dissolve under pressure? The answers loomed ahead like thunderclouds, pregnant with the weight of consequence. What came next would define her not just as a respondent, but as a beacon. The cacophony of sirens reverberated in Sarah's ears as she steadied herself against the twisted remains of the vehicle, a blend of fear and determination fueling her actions. The world around her faded into a blur, focused solely on saving lives that now clung precariously to the edge of possibility. "Stay with me. Help is coming," she urged the driver, her voice firm while she pressed her palms against the cold glass. The driver shifted slightly, but the weight of the moment bore down on Sarah, anchoring her spirit. She had to help. She would not retreat into fears of inadequacy. The Fawn, still cradled close, felt fragile against her heartbeat, a reminder of her purpose. With every breath, she internalized her training, the years of commitment to healing and nurturing pressing through her veins. A surge of confidence began to resonate and drown the self-doubt, transforming uncertainty into grit. "Keep calm. I need to get you out." Her heart pounded as she wrestled with the door. It resisted her intent, but she wouldn't be deterred. With each strained effort, a mantra of determination surged within. She was capable. She was strong. The metal screeched and creaked, but finally, the door relinquished its hold, slamming open to reveal the driver's dazed expression. "Thank you," the driver whispered, and in that moment, gratitude flickered into the air, sending a ripple of relief through Sarah's heart. The road ahead was still fraught with dangers, but she had proven to herself that she could meet the challenges head-on. Just then, Claire's panicked voice broke in again, demanding her attention. "Sarah, the boy, it's getting worse." The urgency echoed deeper than the initial fear, summoning Sarah's instincts. She knew she had no room to hesitate. "Claire, take care of the dog." With a swift nod toward her partner, she began sprinting back toward the boy, as adrenaline coursed through her, igniting her resolve. This was not just about succumbing to chaos, it was about embodying compassion and seeking resolutions despite tumultuous surroundings. Reaching the boy, Sarah crouched down, her focus sharpening. "Hey, sweetie, what's happening?" She could see his face pale, sweat beading across his forehead and panic dancing in his eyes. Something's wrong, I can't breathe," he breathed in quick, shallow gasps, eyes widening with terror. "Let's get you sitting up, all right? Breathe in with me, just like this," she instructed, her voice calming. Instinctively, she inhaled deeply, nurturing her own composure as he followed her lead. Sarah felt the familiar pulse of control, the unwavering commitment to serve igniting her purpose once again. With every breath they took together, she sensed the shift, the boy's pulse steadying as if mirroring her resilience. "You're doing great. Just breathe. You're safe here." Determination bolstered her method, reminding her of the depths of patience she had learned in the clinic and the transformative power of calm under pressure. And then, unexpectedly, she felt a gentle tug on her sleeve. The Fawn nestled next to her, sensing her energy. Its presence was grounding, a living reminder of her commitment to protect and heal. These lives, intertwined with her own, were a testament to the bond she was creating, one steeped in compassion and purpose. "Sarah!" Claire's voice broke through, breathless as she rushed back toward them. "The driver needs you again." Understanding flooded Sarah's mind. She couldn't allow hesitation to overtake her. "Go with Claire. Stay close to her. And breathe," she instructed the boy. "I'll be right back." As she sprinted back to the vehicle, she resolved to bring balance not just to the lives around her, but also within herself. Each step echoed the growth she had fought against, no longer a woman clouded by uncertainty, but one embraced by the clarity of purpose, ready to claim her narrative in its entirety. Reaching the driver, Sarah exhaled deeply, her heart racing, but her mind clearer than it had ever been. "I'm here to help you," she assured him, finding a way to regain control amidst the waves of stress. Throughout the remaining chaos, the recommendations poured from her lips seamlessly. "Apply pressure to your wound. Emergency services are on their way." As the paramedics arrived, she navigated them through the situation. Her words resonated with a newfound authority as she directed their efforts, showing confidence that had felt so distant before. In the flurry of commotion, amidst lives in the balance, she felt the threads of her past knitting together with her growth. No longer shackled by fears, she stood fully realized in her role, confident in her ability to heal and empower. Watching as lives were lifted from the brink, each effort affirming her existence, she acknowledged that these moments exemplified purpose and unity, a shared thread weaving through every heart she touched. As the emergencies gradually resolved, Sarah held the Fawn close, golden sunlight pouring over them both like a halo of hope. They had achieved something remarkable today, not merely saving lives from accident, but grounding herself anew in her capabilities. With a steady gaze, she reflected on everything she had overcome, her past, her lost dreams, bitter truths slowly unraveling into forgiveness and growth. The responsibility she had shouldered was now a testament to her journey, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, the light of purpose could shine through. In that moment, Sarah stood grounded, assured of her role moving forward. She had transformed pain into purpose and doubt into determination. She was ready to embrace the challenges ahead and to speak her truth, not only as a healer, but as a testament to overcoming. This was not merely the conclusion of a crisis. It was the resolution of her journey toward reclaiming her identity. Empowered, Sarah breathed deeply, each inhale marking a celebration of newfound confidence. For every story of personal journey, the resolution was not merely surviving the storm. It was learning to stand tall in the aftermath. Now, dear audience, this is your moment to triumph as well. Do not miss a beat. Subscribe immediately to the channel and ensure you won't miss our next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now and show your support. It fuels the algorithm and keeps these inspiring narratives alive. Comment your thoughts, share your reactions, and speculate on what you believe happens next. And don't wait even one more second. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this journey of overcoming and empowerment. True fans must rally behind these stories.